Hi. So pi, circles, lots of circles. I think pi is one of those things that you have to trust in whatever the ancient mathematicians had done to figure this out. But you could definitely try out different circles to see, what are they right? Are they right? Did they do the right? Did they do a good job? So one thing you could do is to, let's say if you have some circles, I think this is not a very good surface. Okay, if you have circles, my first instinct would actually use a string and go, okay, what's my circumference? Okay, I could tape it for better, accurate, something like this, ish. Okay, this is harder than it looks. Okay, so maybe something like this. So my circumference is not quite fitting in my camera, but this is my, okay, this length. From this side to right over here, that's my circumference. So how do I figure out my diameter or radius? Well, what do you think I should do to figure that out? Well, my first instinct is just to fold it. Now I'm cutting my circle into 2 equal parts. So, and they're fitting very nicely. That means my line right over here, that must be my diameter, right? Okay. So how do I show that on my whiteboard? So what I could do is I could show that right over here and right over here. That's my diameter. That's my, I don't think I could spell this upside down. So I'm gonna come over here and this is my diameter. Right? And my circumference was, well, I used my string to see, okay, I used my string to say, okay, these are my circumference, but someone clever actually showed me a better way to do it. So I'll show you. So what if you know that your starting point is right over here? What if I roll that until this little dot gets to the bottom? So you could use a flat surface and you just decide, okay, I'm going to start right over here, and you align your dot right over here like that. And what if I just, hopefully in a straight line, what if I rolled it like that, like a wheel? I thought that was such a really great, brilliant way to actually measure your circumference using a wheel. It's much better than me trying to use a string and trying to align it. I thought that was quite clever. So I'll be back. Hi. So one of my students, really good student, this was what my student came up with in order to understand pi. So I just wanted to share that with you. So for this student, and it was easier to understand the diameter, sort of pi in terms of like fractions and rather than decimals. So what this student came up with is, if diameter, if you consider this as 1, means whole, like a fraction, then that means you have 1 whole, 2nd whole, and the 3rd whole. And what about this one? And what this student came up with was really very, very, very cool. So this part is 100 over 100. This part is also 100 over 100. This part is also 100 over 100 because 1 whole, 2nd whole, the 3rd whole. And this bit means it is 14 over 100. And that's how you could represent the relationship between the diameter and the circumference. This was my student idea, and I thought this was very cool, so I just wanted to share that with you. And so what about area then? So I am not good at memorizing formulas. at all. So I really have to think about, okay, what does it mean when I'm actually thinking about an area of a circle? Like, can you actually get an accurate measurement of this? So I always have to think step by step. So what you're going to first be doing, well, first, I would highly recommend, instead of me telling you, actually explore, is there a way that you could somehow figure out an area of a circle? What are you going to do with the curvature? So if you want to figure it out and experiment on your own, create something like this and don't watch the rest of the video. So this is going to be a challenge and it's going to be lots of fun. So if you do want to do that, explore, investigate, stop the video, don't watch the rest of the video. Okay, so for anyone who's like, I have no idea. Okay, what if I cut my circles into little circles? Imagine your shortbread cookies. I love shortbread cookies, and I have a little bit right over here. I'm sure you all have done this. Played with food. I did. And have you done this? Sort of like make a different shape out of these little pie pieces. Da, 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 da. So you do something similar with circles as well. Okay, so you keep on cutting it, and the smaller you can cut it, the better. Make sure they're sort of all of equal sizes so you can align nicely. So I did that myself. Da-da. Something like this. So what do I go from here? Well, what do you see? I see curvatures right over there, but if I keep on cutting it into smaller pieces, I could have almost straight line right over here on both sides. And you could, I guess you might say you see a parallelogram. Say that word 10 times fast. Parallelogram. Okay. But what if I cut this little piece, provided that I can find scissors? What if I cut this little piece right over here? And if I actually moved this little bit right over here, is it getting slightly closer to a rectangle? So think. I'm sure you're all aware that if you do length multiplied by width, you will get an area of a rectangle. So if you cut these little pieces into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, you will get actually a rectangle. And what is that? Well, it used to be, it was that, right? So that means, isn't that half of a diameter? Half of a diameter is your radius. So now your height right over here is going to be your radius. So what about that? What are we seeing on this side and on this side? Well, you only see the curved parts on this side, right? Well, because you're ignoring the points and you only see the curved parts on this side. So where do you see the curved parts on a circle? All around. All around means your circumference. So here I have circumference, half of a circumference, because if you keep on cutting, you will see a rectangle. So I have, if I add my top and my base, then you will have a circumference. So when I'm thinking about a formula of a circle, I have to imagine this process and say, okay, I have to multiply radius by radius, which is half of a diameter, by half of my circumference, and I will get my area. So that's one way to take a look at it. But I'm sure there are other ways. There are the very cool ways to figure out and play with circles, pies. So I hope you have fun. And whoever did not watch the rest of the video, I hope if you have an amazing idea, I hope you share. Thank you.